Hello, everybody, and welcome to the CASTcast. My name is Michael Larson.
And I'm Claire Mons.
And we are your social media team for the CAST conference. CAST, of course, is the conference of the Association for Software Testing. And today we are happy to be joined by Angie Jones.
Hello, how are you?
We are doing great. So as part of our lead up to CAST 2017 in Nashville, we are looking forward to a chance to talk to as many of the speakers, presenters, and people helping to put on the conference as possible so that we can encourage people to get excited about the conference and come out and join us in Nashville, Tennessee in August. Without further ado, our first person on our podcast is Angie. And thank you very much and welcome, and glad you could be with us today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
First and foremost, I'm sure that every time you've been on a podcast, you've had to rehearse this multiple times, but everybody wants to know the origin story, how you got where you are. So once again, can you give us a little bit of your origin story?
Sure. So I'm a consultant automation engineer. Kind of stumbled into tests right after college. Actually went on to do some development work briefly and loved tests so much that I returned. So the vast majority of my career has been in testing, specifically in automation testing. So that's my focus area, automation, test automation, and specifically focusing on agile practices. And so test automation within agile practices.
That's an interesting niche. I wonder, how did you decide to work in agile specifically?
I was kind of forced to do so. So I've worked on a lot of teams that, just like most of the industry, are converting from waterfall to agile. So I was very used to doing things in a waterfall fashion, and I had to adopt just like everyone else. It was interesting. There's been some great work done in the industry to figure out where does testing fit into all of this. Automation, it seems like everyone kind of already decided where it was going to fit in. We need it very much so for regression and for continuous integration. So I had to adjust and adopt these new practices and figure out, how do I keep myself employed?
Oh, that's an important question to answer.
Yeah.
And it sounds like your tutorial is helping other people to do that.
That's exactly right. My tutorial at CAST is a day in the life of an automation engineer. The theme of CAST this year, as you know, is what the heck do testers do? That's a very good question. We're constantly trying to let the industry know what it is that we do as testers and prove our value. I also see a lot of testers who are pushing to go towards automation because that is a big draw now in the field. I often ask them, like, do you even know what that means to become an automation engineer? So it's so much more than just coding. That's only one small piece of it. And so this workshop is a day-long workshop that gives people insight into what a day in the life of an automation engineer is really like. So we do some coding, and we also look at a lot of other things that go into being an automation engineer, the types of problems that automation engineers have to solve on a day-to-day basis. The participants will be exposed to that. That's a great part of it, to just show what it's like and what are they actually getting into if they decide to pursue this. There are some techniques that we can use within automation that help us be able to deliver automation code within these agile sprint cycles. For example, a lot of us were doing very heavy UI testing. So I've adopted Mike Cohn's automation pyramid, where he recommends that we do some service testing as well. So I will go over how to incorporate that into an existing UI framework. So allowing for web service validation as well, and still do the UI piece and things like that. Very hands-on, very technical workshop, yet you don't have to have any programming experience to attend. You'll be able to follow along just fine.
That sounds wonderful. Being able to leverage what you know and dovetail it with these new skills sounds really
Yep.
valuable to our attendees for CAST.
I want to dovetail a little bit here because you've also done another presentation, and you and I have talked about this on another podcast. It seems like this might be a good chance to pull a little bit of this together. And you've also done a talk about including automation in getting into your definition of done. Not the focus of this particular workshop, but still, I think that's a really good concept for us to be able to think about. If you could just give us a couple of minutes to kind of describe a little bit of what that philosophy is.
Sure. Teams are struggling to do development and testing all within these short, agile sprint cycles, which are typically about 2 to 3 weeks. Automation is being done outside of that in a lot of different cases. People are starting to realize, hey, we really probably should do some in-sprint automation as we're testing these features, and we know that we want to regress them at some point. Why not have them automated? Why not add them to our continuous integration cycle? The talk that you mentioned, I go into some details and techniques on how teams can adopt approaches to do this. Those techniques are very much seen in this workshop as well. Like I said, it's much more than just coding. I'm really sharing a lot of what I know in this workshop, a lot of my thought processes, and any techniques that I can squeeze into here to help teams be successful with test automation.
So I was looking at your tutorial description, and the first bullet point there is identify the best test scenarios to automate. And I'm really curious, does that help testers who don't have automation experience to leverage their existing skills?
Yes, exactly. This workshop, I don't want anyone to think that they have to already have automation skills to attend this workshop. So this is very much so open to people who have not automated before.
It sounds like your tutorial is accessible to people who are all the way from beginner to maybe a journeyman level. Sounds like people who already have some automation background could definitely benefit from learning more about this specific framework and maybe how to build a business case for doing that.
Exactly. And so I've had people from various different backgrounds attend the workshop, people who are just starting out, people who are already doing automation. I've also had developers and business analysts and people who just want to learn more about what is it that our automation engineers are doing. So it's a black box for a lot of people. They know that we're coding, but that's about it. They don't really understand it in its full extent. So this is a great opportunity to be able to get a very close look into what it is that we do as automation engineers.
I do also like the fact that the second bullet point here is create an automation framework from scratch. And I think that for a lot of people, that might even be the most daunting part of this, is that when we think of building an automation framework, it's, I have to know all of this stuff. I have to be able to piece together all of these things, and I'm not sure that I know how to do that. And I think for many people, we stumble at that point because we're thinking, what does it really mean to build an automation framework?
Exactly, and that's where people struggle the most. So they know that they want to adopt automation into their environments. However, like you said, where do I begin? Where do I start? And so this will guide them step by step on how to do that. And everyone who attends will be able to leave with an automation framework on their laptops. And so they'll be able to take that back and have the structure for that and revise it if needed for their own workplace.
Well, of course, we don't want to go too much into detail, because if we cover all the details here, there's no point in people. Well, they're actually, in this case, because they're walking out with a framework, there is a point to showing up. But we do want to, of course, encourage. Now, workshops are separate. These workshops and tutorials are an add-on to the conference. Not everybody who shows up at the conference gets to go to the tutorials, and space is limited. So we want to encourage everybody to go to the Association for Software Testing sign-up page if you haven't already. If you want to be part of the workshop, you do have to sign up for it. It is first come, first serve, and once those seats are full, they're full. I guess at this point, we're going to wrap this up. If there's anything that you want to encourage, or if there's any shout-outs or any additional details, where can we know more about you?
You can find me on angiejones.tech. So I blog about automation techniques there. And I'm also on Twitter at TechGirl1908. And just to echo Michael's statement about making sure that you enroll early, this workshop I've done several times before, and it's always packed and very good reviews at the end. So this is definitely one that you don't want to miss.
All right.
As a previous year attendee, I can say having hands-on experience in a tutorial was very helpful for me back on the job after I came back from CAST. So I definitely recommend people to choose something that's hands-on that will help them to solve real-world problems when they get back to work.
And with that, we'd like to say thank you, everybody, for listening to the CASTcast. As we certainly hope, more reasons to get fired up and excited about joining us in Nashville, Tennessee. Thanks for listening.
All right, thanks.
Bye.